Imagine this for a second. You go to bed on a normal night, nothing feels strange, the lights are on, the news is boring like always, and then you wake up the next morning and your country is just gone. No warning sirens, no emergency broadcast, no dramatic ending. Simply over. That's what happened when the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. And here's the wild part. The collapse itself wasn't loud or explosive, but what came after was slow, brutal, and honestly terrifying. One day the USSR was one of the most powerful nations on Earth, controlling borders, armies, money, and information, and the next day nearly 300 million people realized they didn't really belong to anything anymore. Passports became confusing, laws didn't make sense, and nobody could clearly answer a simple question. Who's in charge now? And when no one is in charge, everything starts falling apart fast. The first thing people noticed was money. Not losing money. Money literally stopped working. Prices didn't rise gradually. They went insane. Inflation hit so hard that cash lost value by the hour. People ran to stores not to buy things they wanted, but to buy anything at all before their savings turned completely worthless. Life savings that took decades to earn couldn't buy basic food. Retired people who had planned carefully their whole lives suddenly had nothing. Doctors, engineers, scientists, people with serious education and respected careers were selling cigarettes on street corners, driving illegal taxis, or trading household items just to eat. And while families were struggling to survive, the system that was supposed to protect them had vanished. Police officers didn't know who they worked for anymore. Soldiers weren't sure who they were supposed to obey. Courts felt useless. And into that chaos stepped organized crime. Not slowly, not quietly. It exploded. Mafia groups filled the power vacuum almost overnight. Businesses were forced to pay protection money or face violence. Entire neighborhoods were controlled by criminals, and here's the crazy thing. People trusted them more than politicians. Why? Because criminals kept their word. The government didn't. That's how broken things had become. But the real damage wasn't just physical or economic. It was psychological. People lost their sense of identity. For generations, citizens were raised to believe the Soviet Union was permanent, unbreakable, something that would last forever. Their sacrifices, their struggles, their loyalty, all of it was built on that belief. And when it vanished, so did their purpose. Depression skyrocketed. Alcohol became an escape. Suicide rates climbed fast, especially among men. Life expectancy dropped sharply. There's a quote from that time that still hits hard today. "We survived war, but we didn't survive peace." Let that sit with you for a second. 15 new countries were suddenly born from the collapse, and on paper it sounded like freedom, independence, a fresh start. But reality wasn't that simple. Many of these new nations walked straight into economic disaster, ethnic conflict, border wars, and deep corruption. Old neighbors became enemies overnight. Families were split apart by new borders drawn by people who never lived there. Unity disappeared, replaced by fear and nationalism. And while millions struggled just to survive, a small group quietly became insanely rich. Oligarchs stepped in during the chaos and bought factories, oil fields, and entire industries for almost nothing. They became billionaires while ordinary people lost everything. Different system, same story, power just changed hands. And even when things eventually stabilized, the damage didn't magically disappear. Trust in government was gone. Hope felt dangerous. The collapse itself lasted a moment, but the aftermath lasted decades, and you can still see the scars today in everyday life across former Soviet states. So when people casually talk about countries collapsing, like it's some dramatic movie scene or a headline that fades away, remember this: the real disaster doesn't happen when the flag comes down. It happens after, when the world moves on and the people are left behind, trying to rebuild their lives in a system that no longer makes sense, wondering how something that felt so permanent could vanish overnight. The country ended, but the consequences never really did. And if you want more real stories like this, stories that go beyond headlines and reveal what happens after history changes, make sure you subscribe to this channel, because this is just the beginning.